Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling a huge one of the most persistent bedrock ideas in modern nutrition, the idea that dietary fat is public enemy number one when it comes to heart disease.
I mean, you've heard it your whole life, right? Cut the fat, save your heart. It's been the clear message for generations. But what if I told you that groundbreaking research hasn't just tweaked this idea, it's completely shattered it, pointing to a story that's way more complex and, frankly, a lot more fascinating. In this explainer, we're going to break down that new science.
All right, let's dive right in. To really get what's happening now, we've got to go back in time. We need to understand how this whole low-fat, low-cholesterol idea became, well, gospel.
So where did this all start? Well, it really kicked off back in the mid-20th century. You had Ansel Keys' famous 7 countries study, which seemed to draw a straight line between saturated fat and heart disease. Then, not long after, the massive Framingham heart study pointed the finger at high blood cholesterol. Put those two together, and boom. The idea was cemented, and it would dominate public health advice for the next half a century. Fat is the bad guy. And you know, this idea was so powerful because it's just so easy to picture, right? You eat fat, cholesterol goes into your blood, and it starts sticking to the inside of your arteries, just like scale in a pipe. Eventually, the pipe gets totally clogged, and you have a heart attack. A simple plumbing problem. But here's the thing. It turns out it's not a plumbing problem at all. It's a biology problem. Okay, this is where things get really interesting. This is the big turning point in the science, because the focus suddenly shifts from the amount of cholesterol you have to the chemical condition it's in. And this, right here, is where the real story of heart disease actually begins. So this whole process of plaque building up, it has a fancy name, atherogenosis. But what's important is that it's not just gunk passively clogging things up. Nope. Modern science now sees it as an active inflammatory response. Your very own immune system is a major player here, and it's responding to what it thinks is an injury happening inside your artery walls. Okay, so here's how it really goes down. The LDL particles, the bad cholesterol, they aren't automatically a problem. The real trouble starts when the unstable fats inside those LDL particles get damaged, when they oxidize. Think of it like rust forming on metal or cooking oil going rancid. It's a chemical change. And get this is the key. Only after this oxidation happens do your immune cells, these things called macrophages, see the LDL as a threat. They rush in to clean up the mess, and in the process, they turn into these things called foam cells. And that plaque in your arteries, it's pretty much just a pileup of these dead and dying foam cells. And this quote just nails it. It's a total paradigm shift. The thing that kicks off the whole plaque-building cascade isn't the cholesterol itself, or even saturated fat. It's the presence of oxidized fats. This one little detail changes absolutely everything about how we need to think about the fats we eat. So, if oxidation is the big bad guy here, that leads to a pretty obvious question, right? Are all fats created equal when it comes to oxidation? As it turns out, not even close. It really comes down to 2 main players in our diet, omega-6 and omega-3 fats. Omega-6s, which you find in tons of common vegetable oils like corn and soy oil, are super unstable chemically. They're just really prone to oxidizing. And when we eat too much of them, they can promote inflammation. On the other hand, you have omega-3s from places like fish. They're much more stable, and they're actually powerfully anti-inflammatory. The problem? Well, the modern diet has been absolutely flooded with the unstable, pro-inflammatory omega-6s, creating a huge unhealthy imbalance. But the plot thickens, because it turns out that one of the biggest things driving all this oxidative damage, well, it isn't even a fat. It's a sugar. Just look at that number. 229%. That is the mind-blowing increase in how much high fructose corn syrup the average person in the US was consuming just between 1980 and 1998. This one ingredient didn't just tweak our diet, it fundamentally re-engineered it, and our bodies are paying the price. And here's exactly why that huge increase is such a big deal. See, your body handles fructose and glucose, another common sugar, very differently. When you have glucose, your body uses it for energy or stores it for later. But fructose, that's a whole different story. The liver basically converts it straight into fat. Not only does this crank up triglycerides in your blood, but the process also creates an explosion of free radicals. Those are the very molecules that cause oxidative damage in the first place. So a diet high in fructose creates the absolute perfect storm. It makes more fat and, at the same time, speeds up the process that makes that fat so dangerous. So if the goal isn't just to avoid all fat, but to specifically avoid oxidized fats and the things that drive oxidation, what does that actually mean for our health? Well, for one thing, it means we can finally stop demonizing certain fats and recognize that some of them aren't just okay, they are absolutely essential for our most important organ.
You see, our brain is incredibly hungry for a specific omega-3 fat called DHA. It's literally one of the primary building blocks of brain tissue, especially when a baby is developing. But it doesn't stop there. Throughout your entire life, you need DHA to build new synapses, the physical connections between your brain cells. Every single time you learn something new or form a lasting memory, you are relying on these essential fats to literally rewire your brain. So the right fats, they aren't just fuel, they're the building blocks of thought itself. Which leaves us with this massive question, doesn't it? Our food environment today is completely different from what it was 50 years ago. We are surrounded by processed foods loaded with those unstable omega-6 oils and high fructose corn syrup, the exact things that create the perfect conditions for oxidative stress and inflammation. The old, simple advice to just cut saturated fat, it completely misses the point. So as the science has evolved so dramatically, maybe it's time our thinking did too.